Good afternoon, Karen.
Hi, David. How are you doing today?
I'm just doing great. I'm welcome to our call today.
Yeah.
I'm realizing that it's dark outside, and my light is probably going to go off in the middle of this broadcast. So if my light goes out, everybody, it's on a timer. So, so welcome to our broadcast today. Um, I'm happy to share this topic. We're going to talk about one critical aspect of a happy marriage that nobody is talking about, even the so called marriage experts. And let me introduce myself. My name is David Cope, and I'm a founder of a new life center with my partner Peggy. And I got involved in wanting to learn about marriage and healthy relationships after I got a divorce in the year 2000, and I committed to myself that I wouldn't be on my deathbed someday wondering why I never had a loving and intimate relationship. So at a new life center, we do a lot of research and study, which makes our the work we do different than most anybody else. And what I learned after my divorce, after reading lots of books and trying to find out what a happy marriage and intimacy was all about, is I finally realized that intimacy starts with me, a relationship with myself. So I've been teaching others how to build a relationship with themselves and how to build an intimacy with themselves. And that's what we teach in our relationship course here at a new life center. Karen, can you introduce yourself and let everybody know the three principles of our Facebook group and our
I would
relationship class?
I would be happy to. So I'm Karen Seitz, and I'm the lead teacher for our relationship program at a new life center. And I began working with other women in their relationships and working on myself and my own marriage about 4 years ago. And it is so rewarding to see how much I change and how much better my marriage continues to get just by working on myself. And
Mhm.
it's so fun to teach that to others and have them come back and be like, wow, this really works. You were right. I just have to work on me and everything changes. And so
Yeah.
the three principles that set us up to be able to do that is understanding that you are responsible for your happiness, that happiness begins with you and it begins on the inside, and that there's no one or no thing that can ever make you happy. And so we have to learn to do that for ourselves. And that the only person that you can change is yourself. You can't change your husband, and your husband can't change you for you. You have to be the one to do the work to change. And that authentic intimacy is actually about having a relationship with yourself and feeling good about who you are. And I think today's topic is especially important to that because, in order to feel good about myself, in order to have a relationship with myself, I have to have integrity, meaning I have to look at where I'm not showing up, at where I'm not happy, and be honest about that with myself so that then I can make new choices to be able to feel good about myself and have that connection with me.
Great. Thank you, Karen. It's always a pleasure to share this with you. And I can see in your face and your smile how happy you are to share this because you know it works and it's changed yourself and your marriage and so many other women that you and men that you're working with. Has
Yeah.
changed their marriage and their lives. So again, the topic that we're talking about tonight is one critical aspect of a happy marriage that nobody is talking about, even the so-called marriage experts. And that is what, Karen?
Integrity.
Personal integrity. That's right. No, you know, I did some research and I looked up all these lists from these so-called experts um, about marriage and love, and not one of them mentions personal integrity. And to me, personal integrity really is the foundation of what creates a healthy marriage because personal integrity is really a personal commitment to yourself to do and be the best person that you can be. And I often think of it like the Girl Scout law, which I have to read. Um, Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Um, pardon me for reading, but personal integrity is your daily recommitment to be true to yourself and how you choose to show up in your marriage. It's like the Girl Scout law, a kind of personal pledge to yourself and how you will show up each day. And the Girl Scout law pledges, I will do my best to be honest and fair, friendly and helpful, considerate and caring, courageous and strong, and be responsible for what I say and do, and to respect myself and others. So personal integrity is kind of like parenting yourself, making sure that in each moment and each day in your marriage, you're being fair and honest, and you're taking responsibility for what you say and do and how you act and behave. Can you talk a little bit about what you've learned about personal integrity
I
and the
can.
challenges that you had? See, for me, personal integrity is kind of it's something that's always been important to me as a character, as a man, to do and say what I say I do, and I follow through. But in working with women over the years and in trying to help them understand personal integrity, often we run into like this blank stare, then they're not even aware of the concept of what personal integrity is. Sorry, Karen, can you share your a journey of awareness about personal integrity?
I can. I have to say this this is a topic of exploring myself that's new to me in recent years because I never thought really about the word integrity. I thought it was a nice word that sounded good and that I should want to be that, but I had no idea what it even meant to be in integrity with myself and to be true to who I am and to be who I say I am and not just pretend. And my marriage has been a huge window or mirror into myself to see where I'm not in integrity with myself. And that's all
Mhm.
part of the process to be able to learn how to be me and be true to myself so that I can show up fair and honest with my husband and be the best version of me that I can be in my marriage. And I've had quite a journey lately in looking at myself and seeing when I'm not in integrity, how bad that feels to be me in my marriage and how it's a domino effect of what I get back.
Oh, say that
So
again.
when I'm out of integrity with myself and not showing up as me, it's a domino effect in my marriage of what I get back in
Oh,
return.
beautiful.
And so it can seem difficult, I think, with everything that we're teaching, that there's so much looking and peering into ourselves we have to do to see what I call the icky stuff. But it's through that process that I really learn how to be true and show true to me and show up as a better wife, as a better person, as a better partner to me and to my husband. And it's a really rewarding journey. But the hard part about it is that I have to see all these places that I don't show up
Mhm.
in integrity and where I'm not being who I say I am, especially in my marriage.
Thank you, Karen.
Yeah.
So the opposite of personal integrity, and some people might call personal integrity be congruent with myself,
Mm,
is another way that some people might relate to it. What I say and do is congruent with who I am and what I want to have in my life. There's a congruency in personal integrity. The the opposite of personal integrity, not having integrity, is really blaming.
mm,
When you blame somebody else, your partner, for how you're experiencing yourself, what you're doing is you're not being accountable. You're not taking responsibility for what you're doing to create the experience. So again, the opposite of personal integrity is blaming or being a victim. And one of the foundational principles that we always talk about in a new life centers relationship class is that the problem in your marriage is not your husband if you're with a good man. And when you're not in personal integrity, meaning you're taking responsibility for for your actions and following through with what you say and congruent with what you want and to achieve in your life. You blame your husband for how your marriage has turned out, and blame is directly correlated to the amount of responsibility that we can take to have personal integrity. Uh, I think, Karen, this might be a good segue into the Brene Brown little video that we can post
Yeah.
about blaming, and how Brene Brown says when you blame your husband or your partner, it's inversely correlated to being accountable for your actions. And she has a lovely little video that we might as well post, which ties into the opposite of personal integrity is blame. And if you could post that, I think
Yeah,
that's a great segue.
I can.
Another way of looking at the opposite of having personal integrity is being a hypocrite.
Mm.
And I know a lot of people say, "Oh, that's the worst thing is being a hypocrite." But a hypocrite really is I say one thing and I do another, or my thoughts and my intentions and are not congruent with what I want or expect out of my life. So I'm thinking one thing and I'm saying and doing something else. Or I want something out of my life and my marriage, but I'm thinking and doing something different. Karen, we had a woman that came through our program that worked on integrity, and she shared some of the things she learned about. Can you share
Yeah.
that for me? I think.
I yeah, and I think these are really helpful to begin to look at yourself to see, are you showing up in your life with integrity? So these are some really good ways to begin to explore this in yourself just to see, because like David said, it's something that never gets brought up and we don't think about and we don't look at. So um, I'm sharing from someone else what they wrote, and she says, having integrity is wanting to know where I'm at. And the questions that she asks herself are, am I having integrity with myself or am I not? It's been very helpful in asking myself and going through my entire day, where did I make a healthy choice or not a healthy choice? And what she wrote after that is what she's learning by knowing herself as not having integrity. Like I said earlier, the trick to this is we have to see where we're out of integrity to begin to know what it is to be true to who we are and to show up as the person that we say that we are. And it
Mhm.
seems counterintuitive to us because it's like, why would I want to see that? But if I can't see that, then I can't do anything about it. So that's why we pick up the rug and we look at these things so
Mhm.
that we can have the experience we really want. And so these are a few things of this person's work of what she was learning by knowing herself as not having integrity. So see if you can see yourself in this as I go through this. I only think about myself and I have no interest in the other person or what they're going through. I tell stories and lie. I alter the truth. I am a victim in my life, meaning I don't want to learn. I want someone to take care of me. I am not true to myself. I put myself last. I am not holding myself accountable. I coast in life. I give myself a life that is hard to be in. I hide behind my walls. I live the life of a robot. I'm just on a loop, making the same mistakes over and over. And the last is I refuse to take care of myself. And what this person learned by seeing where they were not in integrity and what that
Mhm.
looked like was I'm seeing how integrity requires a certain flavor of willingness and commitment to myself, a depth and honesty with myself, being my own truth meter and living on the cliff of vulnerability, just enough to push me to the edge of where I need to be. When I am in integrity, My life is the most incredible life I have ever lived. When I stop feeding myself, meaning not giving my heart what it is demanding of me, I get a miserable life, period.
Mm.
And I'm
Wow.
smiling as I read that because it's so empowering and
Mm.
impactful. And I can see myself in this that, yes, when I am being true to myself and in integrity,
Mm.
I do have the most incredible life and I feel excited and alive and I'm ready to keep diving in and keep going and finding out who I am and building that confidence I have in myself. And when I'm not being in integrity and I'm not being who I say that I am, I feel miserable
Mhm.
everywhere. And that shows up everywhere. It shows up in my marriage, it shows up in my job, it shows up with my family. And so this is I'm excited to be talking about this because it really is so impactful and so vital in having any kind of a healthy marriage or relationship. Yeah,
That's great. Thank you, Karen. That was very heartfelt.
yeah.
So you have a personal story that you're going to
Mhm.
share about the challenges that you're facing in being in integrity. And just to remind some listeners, often the women that we've worked through over the years, some of the things that they think about personal integrity is that I have to be perfect
Yeah.
and that I have to do everything just right all the time. But personal integrity is not being perfect. It's realizing when you're not doing the things you know need to do and catching yourself and choosing to do the better thing, the healthy choices. And then in that process of catching yourself and re-choosing is the journey of personal integrity. You know, personal integrity isn't something that you learn. So the personal integrity is something you choose to experience yourself. It's kind of a character, an aspect of your character that you want to be known as. I want to be known as a person who has integrity. That when I say I do something, I follow through and I commit it. I'm committed to doing it. Another way I look at personal integrity is a simple way is how I act and behave when nobody's looking. And that's a thing I always use for myself. If nobody's looking, what am I doing? And that's a commitment to myself, a deep personal commitment. And it's an ongoing challenge that I have to catch myself in different places. Okay, where did I take a shortcut, or where did I do something? And it's a constant recommitment to being the best version of myself, and it's not about perfection at all. Karen, can you share your challenge on your journey of personal integrity?
I can. So one of the things that I say again and again and again in working with my clients and also in working with myself is that marriage is an up and down journey. That there's going to be highs and there's going to be lows or peaks and valleys, and
Mhm.
that I have to be prepared when I hit those valleys or hit those lows to work through the challenges that are being brought up for me. And I will say in the past couple of weeks, I've been hitting more of the valleys and hitting more of the lows in my marriage because that's what those things that are getting brought up in me are the things I need to look at so that I can be more of myself and I can enjoy more of my marriage and more of my life.
Mhm.
So this Monday on Labor Day, my husband had an employee party and I decided, and we decided together that I would go with him, which usually those are some things that we do apart because it can be easier to go to social gatherings or functions like that just as an individual and not worry about the other person and how they're doing and the time that they're having. And in this instance, we decided let's challenge ourselves and go to this together. And in being sped up in myself and not taking the time to slow down and commit to myself on Monday to show up as the best version of me that I can be and to be who I say I am. I ended up going to the party as what we've talked about in a previous video as a should. I never took responsibility for my choice to be there and to show up as me and to be my husband's partner and be there with him and be a team. I just went because I thought that's what I should do This is what I'm supposed to do and what's expected of me. And when we do that, there's no responsibility of our choice. We're just blowing with the wind, essentially. And what happens when we do things in a relationship or in our marriage as a should is we fall into resentment. And me being what another concept we've talked about, being a happy pill person, meaning I just pretend like everything's fine and I don't look under the rug to see what's really going on. I convinced myself that I was in great space and going to the party because I wanted to, and I wanted to go as my husband's wife and be there with him. And I completely fooled myself. And I wasn't myself. And when I looked back in hindsight and I was honest, I felt very kind of aloof, not really there, secretly being angry at my husband that we were there, that I would rather be off doing something else with my day. And as a result, we left the party, and it was very visible and obvious that my husband was very disappointed and let down. And he was expressing that he didn't have the fun and he didn't have the time that he really wanted to have. And I could feel that coming back on to me. But because I didn't take the time to check in with myself and take responsibility for my choice to be there, what happens when we go into that place of victim and we're blaming is we have zero self-awareness. So that whole afternoon, I am sitting there and he is resenting me. He is so angry with me. I don't know what I did wrong, and I'm just crushed. And I could hear this voice in me, which is me, but I could hear this little voice of like, Karen, this is what you teach. You've got to look at yourself and see what's going on with you that's causing you to have the experience you're having, because he can't change it for you. And it doesn't have anything to do with him. But there wasn't enough in me that I really wanted to explore that right then and there. But here's where integrity comes in, because remember, it's not about being perfect. It's not about showing up as the perfect wife always and doing everything correctly and like you should. And it's about taking the time to realize something's off. And I want to figure out what it is. It's like what I shared, having integrity is wanting to know where I'm at. So that gave me the opportunity then to explore what was really going on with me so that I can learn and grow from that. So the next time that there's a social gathering that my husband and I are going to go to together, I'll have that awareness and have that capacity to slow down and say, oh, I remember what happened last time with the employee party and what that led to. So I'm going to try better this time. I'm going to do things differently. So we go through that process so that we can learn to show up as who we really are, and we can be the wife that we want to be, or be that person that we say that we are. And in that, I could get out, because it was very humbling to get stuck in that, because I too get caught and I should be perfect. I should not be running into this stuff. I should not be going into victim or having blame. And so it was very humbling and gave me the chance to practice what I teach to my clients, which is to help them normalize being a victim and blaming, to tell them it's not about not going there. It's about being open to the experience of ourselves in that place, so we can actually work on it and get out of it and move forward and do better next time. So I got a dose of my own medicine and was able to really learn from that. And now I feel proud of myself. I'm not beating myself up and seeing, oh my gosh, I wasn't any fun at the party because I was there as I should. I just wanted to kind of sit back and not really talk to people. And my husband, being a good man, was just right by my side the whole time. So I had to really see how I was creating that situation, and that helped me to feel good about myself. I know that sounds completely counterintuitive and that doesn't make sense, but when we're willing to care about ourselves enough and value ourselves enough to really look and see what's going on so we can change it, that's the exact result, is then feeling good about who you are and proud of who you are, that you're willing to go there. And I think that's really what personal integrity when we're willing to look at that and
Mhm.
understand what that means and do the work to show up in integrity, that's what it provides, is that ability to feel good about ourselves. And then that flows into our marriage and makes everything better. And that's why it's so imperative and nobody talks about it. But if I'm not being true to myself, if I'm not being who I really am and who I say I am, then why would I expect anything different in my marriage than a
Mhm.
bunch of conflict and trouble and feeling like roommates? That's where all this comes from, is because we're not really connected to who we are and what's going on for us. So
That
that's
was
what I
lovely.
learned from Monday.
Yeah.
And
So can you share how you read the girls
I,
the
yeah,
the
the
Girl
Girl
Scouts?
Scout honor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I decided after a Monday and looking at myself and seeing this, I woke up today because it wasn't until yesterday that I really got clear on what was going on for me and being able to look at myself. So this morning I woke up and I started my day reading the Girl Scout honor to myself so that I could start my day from that place and
Mm.
and be reminding myself of that throughout the day. Am I being who I really am? Am I being my best self? Am I making healthy choices? Am I doing
Mm.
what's right for me? And it was a really empowering experience to do that this morning. And Monday was such a good reminder of, oh yeah, Karen, this is something you need to check in
Mhm.
regularly with yourself. It's not a one-time deal and it's
Mhm.
done. It's a continual commitment to ask myself and check in, am I in integrity?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you have a copy of the Girl
I
Scout Law?
do.
Can you
I
read it? Because it
do.
might sound much better coming from you than me.
Sure. Sure, of course. So here's what I read to myself this morning. The Girl Scout Law. I will do my best to be honest and fair, friendly and helpful, considerate and caring, courageous and strong, and be responsible for what I say and do, and to respect myself and others. And it
Wow.
was such a lovely way to start my day.
It,
And that's all I can do. This, this is all I can do in life. This is what I have control over, how I show up. And that's all
Beautiful.
that matters.
It sounded much better coming from you
Oh, good.
than earlier, but that was very lovely,
Good.
very nice. And I hope the listeners can understand. Often, what we find out with women in their marriages is that they have a facade to the outside world that they're a happy person, they have a good marriage, and often people will, women will say, everybody thinks that we have this wonderful marriage, and what they realize and hide from is that somewhere deep inside they know that they're unhappy, and they're hiding behind their the illusion of the happy marriage, hiding that they're actually unhappy within themselves. And I hope you can understand that when you don't have personal integrity, it feeds your own unhappiness, because when you don't have personal integrity, you're not doing things that make you feel good. You're actually doing the opposite things. Karen was reading the list of one of the women who came through our program, and if you imagine feeling these things about yourself by not being in integrity, it's almost impossible to feel good about yourself. And not feeling good about yourself is fundamentally not being happy. So the beauty of personal integrity is really a personal commitment to do the things that make you feel good about yourself by doing the hard things and making difficult choices, but they're the choices that are healthy. And when you make those healthy choices and you are kind and you take responsibility for your words and you do the things that they actually make you feel really good about yourself. And as we've shared, Karen, the foundation of intimacy comes from feeling good about yourself. And personal integrity is a wonderful way to recommit yourself every day, and not only in your marriage but in your life and all your interactions, is to choose to be fair and honest and take responsibility for what you do and you say. and it builds this feeling of feeling great about yourself. And it's, I say it's kind of like I love myself great.
Yeah.
And what a great foundation to build intimacy is when you feel good about yourself, then you take that into your marriage, and I hope you can see how much your marriage would change
Mhm.
if you feel good about yourself and brought that in instead of secretly hiding that you're really unhappy and miserable inside and you're just covering it up on a day-to-day basis. And that's why our work at a New Life Center is so transformational. As I said earlier, I looked up on the internet and none of the marriage experts and nobody talks about personal integrity. But I hope you can see if you don't have personal integrity, what good does all these tools and techniques that they're teaching in, like you have to know your partner's needs, or you have to put your partner first, or you have to know your partner's love language, or you have to, I kind of go on and on of what you will read in books. But I hope you can see that all these techniques are kind of band-aid approaches, because if you're not happy inside, I mean, happiness is an inside job. All these techniques that you learn in the books and from so-called marriage experts are just band-aid approaches, because fundamentally, if you don't feel good and not happy inside, that's a short-term solution. So in a New Life Center, in our program, what we do is we teach you how to have personal integrity and what that means and how that builds a feeling of um, connectivity and authenticity and alignment with your true self, so that you can bring that into your marriage. And I hope you can see how that would transform your marriage, assuming you're with a good guy, and how this is a deep transformational change that can happen almost overnight in your marriage.
It does. And one thing I wanted to add from my story from Monday, just to highlight how this works, once I was able to look at myself and realize what had happened for me, I was able then yesterday to go apologize to my husband and mean
You,
it.
you,
I
you
know. I apologized to my husband and I meant it. And
and
it was
can you,
simple.
Karen, I know it's really important that, since we're talking about this, to apologize and mean it.
Yeah.
Often in working with women in relationships, some women will never apologize. It's. I remember I was looking up a phrase once about hell will freeze over. An example they gave in online is hell will freeze over before your wife will apologize. And apologizing for women is difficult because at a fundamental level it makes them feel wrong. And some women say, "Well, I don't have a problem of apologizing, but it's not heartfelt." Can you just take a minute,
Yeah.
since you talked about it, why it's so important to apologize and really mean it? Because us men can tell when you're apologizing and you really mean it, or you're apologizing to just get it over with and go on to something else.
Yeah. And so for me, I was the woman who never apologized because I was so busy making it all about me and what my husband had done to
Oh,
me and was
good.
such a victim that I wouldn't apologize. Or if I did, it was not even half heartfelt. It wasn't heartfelt at all. It was just going through the motions of knowing I should say I'm sorry, but not meaning it at all. And I would usually say something like, I'm sorry. And, when you did this or you said that, and bring it back on him. And so
Mhm.
now I'm learning when I can take responsibility for myself and see what's really going on and understand me, then I am able to apologize from my heart and mean it because I know the way that I treated my husband on Monday, being resentful of him, I wasn't kind to him at all. And I was twisting and warping everything to make it about him and make him feel bad. And I could see that once I took the time to look at it. So then I was able to apologize and say, I see that I actually went yesterday as I should, and I didn't take responsibility for my choice. And I know because of that, I treated you poorly last night and tried to make it about you. And I'm really sorry I did that. I'm going to do better next time.
Mhm.
And with a good man, when you're feeding the marriage and you're showing up as yourself and you're appreciative of him and feel good about who you are, they respond so well. My husband was like, "It's okay," and gave me a big hug. And he had ran out to the store and he came back and I love chocolate and he had gotten me some chocolate and said, "Thank you just for being you." And
Oh,
that's what
he's
happens
such
when
a
we're
good man.
so good. So
Yeah.
that's what happens. And my husband's always been that man, but because of how I treated him the first half, two-thirds of our relationship, he had really shut down to me, and none of those things ever happened
Mhm.
because I had pushed him away. So he didn't show up open. He didn't show up like that. So if you're hearing these things and saying, "Well, my husband wouldn't do that," until you change and you show up differently and you have integrity. I think that's kind of the wrap up message today is
Yeah.
personal integrity is the path to feeling good about yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
And when you feel good about yourself, you're going to take your walls down, as we say a lot, and share who you are with your husband. And he will step up if you are with a good man. I understand that you might feel like he's not treating you well right now, or being nice, or he's shut down and he doesn't communicate. If you're open to learning about how that might be a result of how you are showing up and not being in integrity, that's what we teach you how to look at in the program so that you can show up and experience this for
Mhm.
yourself to really know that it works. This isn't something to contemplate. It's not just information. It's not something you can just
Mhm.
process intellectually. You have to learn the steps. You have to learn the roadmap to show up in these ways. And that's what we teach you to do in a step-by-step process in our program. And then you can start to experience. If you're with a good man, you'll experience those things like my husband coming home and just saying, "Thank you for being you," and getting me chocolate after I hadn't been very nice to him. And all I did was take ownership of myself and
Mhm.
apologize. And he just forgets and we're on to the next. So that's what can happen for you too. And if you're ready to explore that,
Mhm.
you can private message me through Facebook Messenger, and we'll set up a free breakthrough call where you can
Mhm.
get clarity on what's going on for you, see if the program is a good fit. And if it is, we'll talk about that and go there. If not, that's okay too. You will have brand new clarity and a whole
Mhm.
new way to look at things just by having this conversation. So I would love to talk with you and hope that this helps you to see a new angle of what might be going on in your marriage or with you that's causing you to have that lack of intimacy and lack of connection.
That was beautiful. Thank you,
Thanks.
Karen.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and thank you, Karen, for showing up so authentic and genuine, and being willing to share your vulnerability and your the truth of your experience. See it at a New Life Center. All of our teachers here are doing their own work. Where I call true teachers. We're not teaching something that we can't do or we don't do in our marriages behind closed door in our relationship. We're actually out practicing them, engaging them on a regular basis, and it really makes it real and alive. And thank you for being so genuine, and thank you everybody for listening to us today. I hope you learned something that can change your marriage dramatically overnight, and you can really have the marriage that you've always dreamed dreamed for, dreamed
Yeah.
about.
Dreamed
Yeah,
of, dreamed
yeah,
about. It works.
yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
So thanks everybody.
All
Have a
right.
good
Good night.
evening. Bye
Thank
bye.
you, David.